Welcome to the Frontline Herbalism podcast with your host Nicole Rose from the Solidarity Apothecary. This is your place for all things plants and liberation. Let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm sorry, in the last episode I said I would be back next week, but it's been a little bit longer than that. And I think it was because of recording that podcast about tailor dyeing and then being in a big grief hole, basically. I'm sure everyone listening to this has probably lost someone close to them that they love, and they'll know how painful and difficult it is and how it just kind of like sucks the life out of you. So anyway, I'm feeling a bit better now. I've had a very, very busy week. Drove to Paris in France to drop off a van load of supplies for Ukraine. These are medicines made for the Ukraine Herbal Solidarity Project. I made like 1,000 immune tonics, which is like this really delicious mix of echinacea and elderberry tinctures with turmeric, ginger, and thyme glycerites. And it's just like the perfect quality in terms of like being very soothing and supporting. So yeah, I was very happy to get those off, as well as a bunch of other medicines. And I got to do some anarcho-tourist things, visited the grave of Nesta Makhno, who was a Ukrainian anarchist who, I could totally do a whole episode about Nesta Makhno, but I'm not going to. I did a little Instagram post this morning, so you can read a bit more about him if you're interested. So this is like the official podcast that I'm going to kind of launch with, if that makes sense. But I strongly, strongly encourage you to go back to the beginning and listen to the very first podcast where I kind of communicate some of the aims and the goals of the show. So just like a brief introduction, it's for people who love plants, who care about liberation, who are working for animal, human, earth liberation in all different ways across the world, who find their kind of strength in plants and plant medicines. So there's going to be like a real mix of content. There will be interviews with people doing like amazing herbal projects and medical projects and growing projects and, you know, organizing in different struggles. And then there's also going to be like practical content about plants and everything in between. So this episode today, I'm going to be talking about dandelion. So dandelion is one of my all-time favorite plants, and it is the first herb featured in the Presxs Herbal book. So like I explained in the first episode, the kind of first run of episodes of this show is just going to be the kind of chapters from that book, because a lot of people have asked me for like an audio version of it, and it just kind of gives me a bit of a buffer to launch this, get it out in the world, and then kind of schedule interviews in for next year. And yeah, talking of the Presxs Herbal, last week we launched the Spanish editions, Spanish in air quotes. So I'm going to put a link in the show notes so you can read all about it. But basically, two compañeras translated the book into Spanish. So we've got one for like the Spanish state, like Catalonia, the Basque Country in Spain, which was translated by Jorge. And then we have one translated by Heather Ann, which is for people in Mexico and across Central and South America. We're calling that the Abya Yala edition, which is the name used by millions of indigenous peoples across the continents. And yeah, I cannot say thank you enough for their like incredible work on this book and how much energy they've invested in making it happen. I'm really, really moved by it. And I just totally cried when I saw the first picture of the books coming out of the printers in Mexico. So I'm going to do like a whole other show, like specifically about the book, why we've done it. I'm going to try and interview them. I'm going to talk about the prison system in Mexico and also the ICE detention in the US, as well as prisons in the Spanish state. So yeah, bear with me. I know I keep promising episodes, and I am going to definitely do one about Ukraine soon. But yeah, I will put the link in the show notes, and on the page there's like, it's all been translated into Spanish as well, the actual page about the book. So there's like info there on how to request free copies for prisoners and where to order it, etc., etc. Yeah, and I will also put a link in the show notes about Ukraine Herbal Solidarity. Because of like my summer being quite knocked sideways with tailor dyeing, like I haven't been kind of like on it, if that makes sense, in terms of like fundraising. And we're pretty much out of funds. I had to kind of go into debt to get this last bunch of medicines together with the trust that support will come in. So yeah, I just wanted to emphasize that like, even if the news channels have moved on and like, you know, different things are like flavor of the week, right, of social issues that get attention, but the invasion is still raging on. There's huge amounts of violence. There's, thousands of people fleeing. And yeah, we really want to have like a space where we can support people with medicines from their lands and their herbal traditions, which is extremely vibrant in Ukraine, and have herbs for emotional stress and trauma and sleep support and immune support. Obviously, lots of people are getting COVID and chest infections in the winter. So yeah, it's just like an absolute horror show, and I'm gonna try and do an episode on it soon, with which will be a bit more like in depth about the project and its role and the impact we've had, like meeting people at the clinic and how the medicines have like supported them. And so that's going to come soon. But for now, I'm going to leave it there, and I hope you enjoy hearing about dandelion because they're absolutely amazing, and definitely now is the time to be harvesting their roots. Okay, take care. Thanks. All right, dandelion, one of my all-time favorite plants. And yes, you were right. I will start every single section with that statement. Okay, so Latin name, Taraxacum officinale. Plant family is the daisy family, the Asteraceae family. In terms of identification, dandelions generally don't need an introduction. Most folks will recognize the yellow flowers and toothed leaves. However, dandelion can be easily mistaken for cat's ear, also known as false dandelion. You can tell the difference because cat's ear stems are solid, unlike dandelions, and the leaves are more hairy and deeply lobed. There are more than 200 species of dandelion, all are useful. Other common species are, and I'm sorry I'm going to butcher these Latin names, Taraxacum megallanicum, Taraxacum mongolicum, and Leontodon taraxacum. Folk names in English: lion's tooth, piss in bed, blowball, telltime, clockflower, bitterwort, Irish daisy, puffball, wild endive. In Somerset, which is where I live, dandelion has also been called fluffy puffy. Taraxacum is derived from the Greek taraxos, meaning disorder, and akos, meaning remedy. In French, dandelion is dent de lion, or teeth of a lion. Its glorious yellow flowers remind us of the sun. In terms of astroherbology, the herb can be associated with Leo, the lion, Jupiter, and the sun. In Chinese, the translated name reads as yellow-flowered earth nail, which I think is really beautiful. And I'm sure there's 1,000,001 other folk names for dandelion around the world. Food and nutrition. Dandelion has a bitter taste, but its leaves are delicious and nutritious and can be eaten year-round, though taste nicer when young in spring. Dandelion flowers can also be eaten year-round. The roots are also quite delicious fried up. The plant is high in iron, manganese, phosphorus, protein, sodium, and vitamin A in the form of carotenes. The roots are also an excellent source of inulin. The roots can be stir-fried, added to soup, made into dips, cooked with potatoes, and more. Its rich minerals are often extracted into vinegars, which can then be added to foods such as salad dressings. It's well known for dandelion coffee to be made from its roasted roots. In the north of England, the traditional drink of dandelion and burdock is still made. Dandelion flowers have also been used to make beers and wines. Ecological role. Dandelion is an all-season bee food. Bumblebees, solitary bees, and honeybees all visit dandelions for food, along with hoverflies, beetles, and butterflies. The leaves are eaten by many animals, especially rabbits. In terms of soil, dandelions can often indicate compaction, which their roots can be often trying to address through creating more passageways for air and water. Any herbal textbook will write how dandelions are said to originate from Eurasia but have spread worldwide through human movement and colonization. However, Indigenous scholar Valerie Goodness, who is of Tsalagi and Ojibwe heritage, writes how stories about dandelions have been told by native peoples of Turtle Island for thousands of years. And I'm really sorry if I've pronounced her name wrong. As part of decolonizing our plant knowledge, it's important to note how certain stories about plants get reproduced because traditional ecological knowledge is so unvalued in settler colonialism. Chemical constituents. The leaf. Vitamin A, B, C, and D. Sesquiterpene lactones, triterpenes, coumarins, carotenoids, minerals, especially potassium, and flavonoids. The root. Bitter taraxacin monohydric acids, taraxterol and homotaraxterol. Does that sound erotic? Sounds erotic to me. Fatty acids, sugars, and inulin. Energetics. Taste. The leaf tastes bitter. When you first eat wild plants, it might feel more of a shock, but once you are seasoned to eating wild greens, you realise dandelions actually taste quite mild. You can also reduce the bitter taste by blanching them. The root is bitter and sweet. The temperature is cold, moisture, so it's moist, and the tissue states indicated are hot, excitation, and damp, stagnation. In terms of herbal actions, this will be fun for my dyslexia to read all of these out, but I'm going to do my best. The leaf is alterative, anodyne, antacid, antioxidant, aperient, astringent, bitter, decongestion, depurative, digestive, diuretic, febrifuge, galactagogue, hypertensive, immune stimulant, laxative, lithotriptic, nutritive, restorative, stomachic, tonic, and vulnerary. Phew! And yeah, I will do another episode at some point soon about different herbal actions so that some of these words make a bit more sense. If anyone's got a copy of The Prisoner's Herbal, you'll see there's like a glossary in the back of the book explaining each of these words. Okay, root. Alterative, anodyne, antibacterial, antifungal, anti-inflammatory, anti-rheumatic, aperient, astringent, bitter, cholagogue, choleretic, decongestant, deobstruent, depurative, digestive, disquitant, diuretic, galactagogue, hepatic, hypnotic, immune stimulant, laxative, lithotriptic, nutritive, purgative, sedative, stomachic, tonic. Woo! And the flower is anodyne, cardiotonic, emollient, hepatic, vulnerary. And the sap is anodyne, antifungal, and discontinuant. And again, sorry for my pronunciation, it's just how I roll. Reading is actually quite difficult for me, like reading out loud. But I'm doing my best, and this podcast is a great way to kind of build my confidence. I'll probably look back and listen to episodes and just cringe. Anyway, health challenges supported by dandelion. Supporting the digestive system. Dandelion is known as a bitter. Bitters are used in herbalism to aid digestion. Herbalists Julie and Matthew Seal describe how the bitter taste stimulates the secretion of digestive fluids, including stomach acid, bile, and pancreatic juices. Dandelion promotes the appetite and is useful for those who have been ill or have lost their enthusiasm for food in advanced age. Dandelion can be taken before and after meals to aid digestion. It's useful for constipation, gas, and indigestion. Herbalist Mark Pedersen describes how dandelion contains inulin and mucilage, which soothes the digestive tract, absorbs toxins from ingested food, and regulates the colonies of intestinal bacteria, which produce toxins intended to kill other bacteria. That is, they help friendly flora and inhibit unfriendly bacteria. Recent research has also shown dandelion to be potentially useful for diabetes. Dandelion is a supreme ally for liver health. Herbalist Cammie McBride describes dandelion's actions on the liver really clearly. It stimulates the flow of bile, which breaks down cholesterol and fat. Dandelion nurtures the liver in its assimilation and storage of vitamins, minerals, and sugars. It improves blood filtration to remove old cells and harmful bacteria, and helps maintain a healthy hormone balance. Liver health also plays an important role in regulating blood sugar and excreting accumulated waste. We are endowed with a liver that performs 1,000 functions. It is just plain courteous to eat some herbs to reciprocate all the liver does to make us happy. It's a pretty nice analogy, I think. Its support for the liver can be really useful for people during and in recovery from drug and alcohol use. Herbalist Alexis J. Cunningfolk says that dandelion is especially useful when combined with other herbs that help clear environmental toxins, such as yarrow. This includes being useful for people during and in recovery from cancer treatments. As a diuretic, despite being associated with bedwetting, dandelion actually strengthens the urinary system. And like many diuretics, any substance that promotes diuresis, the increased production of urine, which contribute to a loss of potassium, dandelion does not cause this imbalance because it is rich in potassium and can therefore be more safely used long term. Its diuretic actions can support folks with swollen ankles, fluid retention, and high blood pressure. This action also supports the elderly with shortness of breath. Supporting muscles and joints. An infused oil of dandelion flowers can support muscle tension, as well as cold and stiff joints when applied topically on the skin. Dandelion also has the ability to aid the removal of uric acid from the body, making it good for treating gout and joint disease. It can therefore aid rheumatism, arthritis, and other connective tissue conditions when inflammatory substances need to be moved. The bitter flavonoids in dandelion relieve muscle spasms and reduce inflammation. Supporting the skin. Dandelion sap, in accessible quantity from inside the stems, can be applied directly to warts, stings, and blisters. Please note some folks may react to the latex in the sap. Premenstrual symptoms. For folks who menstruate and who can often feel those feelings of extreme frustration, anger, upset, dandelion can really help you cool down. It can also help with water retention and release pelvic congestion. Eating a few dandelion flowers can also help relieve a headache. How to practically use dandelion in prison. Where you might find dandelion. Dandelions are often found pushing through the concrete. Look for them next to the curbs or edges of paths and beds. They can also be found anywhere there is bare soil. They prefer the sun, so won't be hiding in damp corners the way that plants like nettles will. However, you really can find them everywhere and often in the most unexpected places. Leaves and flowers. Nutrition. Eat dandelion leaves and flowers as part of your meals for their nutritional benefits. You can add them to sandwiches and rolls or mix them in with whatever stew, curry or sludge you've been served. Oh, I remember the prison sludge. Okay. Digestion, constipation, gas, etc. You can also eat dandelion leaves separately before or after your meals to help with digestion. Amongst other actions in your body, they will stimulate the secretion of bile, meaning you can digest your food more easily. If you've been able to dry the leaves, then making a leaf infusion with the dried leaves and drinking 1/2 to 2 cups a day, about 125 to 500 ml per day, can really help with any digestive issues. Even if you do not struggle with digestive issues, in a prison context, just that extra support for your liver in processing the chronic stress is really powerful. Likewise, prison food can take its toll on the body with huge amounts of oil use and so forth. Headaches. Eat a few dandelion flowers or leaves to help relieve a headache. Warts, stings and blisters. You can apply the sap directly by opening the dandelion stem. You'll see some nice gooey white stuff and applying it to wherever needed. Note that some people can react to the latex in the stem. Skin irritation, such as swollen and weepy rashes, eczema and acne. Add the leaves and or flowers in hot water, for example in a cup or a bowl. Let them steep for at least 10 minutes and then wash the irritated skin with the water from the cup or the bowl. Sprains and bruises. Make a strong tea from fresh or dried dandelion leaves, strain it and drink the liquid. Then apply the plant material directly on the skin as a poultice. You can also soak makeshift bandages with dandelion tea and wrap around a sprained area. Period pains. Eat dandelion flowers and leaves or add them to hot water as a tea to help relieve period pains. For general skincare and beauty, steep the flower heads in water for an hour, keep the bowl or cup covered, and then strain, but keep both the water and the flowers. Lie down and put the warm wet flowers on your face for 10 minutes. Remove and rinse your face with the water. You can also leave the water on overnight for strong results. Natural toner. Roots. If you are able to access the roots. Liver support. If you can dry them, see my top tips on page 21, then 1/2 cup to 2.5 cups per day, about 125 to 500 ml per day, of dried dandelion root infusion is a really powerful help for people with liver issues. Dandelions can help people having conventional treatment for hepatitis, jaundice, or those struggling with liver damage from excess drug or alcohol use. It can also help people having chemotherapy or in recovery from it. Dandelion is your friend. It feeds your liver choline, carotenes, mineral salts, and other nutrients it needs to aid in its restoration. Otherwise, fresh dandelion root juice is also superb, 3 to 6 tablespoons per day. Making juice is obviously pretty hard without a juicer. However, in prison, there are a couple of options. If you know anyone who works in the prison kitchen who can access sharp knives or equipment who can blend up the roots for you, this is ideal. If not, you can try soaking the roots and tearing them apart, bashing them against something, or chopping them up as much as you can with your cutlery, and squeezing the juice through a piece of fabric, like a cloth or clean underwear, corner of a bedsheet or something. And I know most prison cutlery is plastic, so this would be a nightmare. But I definitely did it when I was inside. Rheumatic and arthritic joints. Try the juice above, diluted in water. Drink it 1 to 2 times a day for 8 weeks. Insomnia. A soothing warm root infusion combined with a little bit of milk or soy milk if you have some can help you sleep. Chronic chest pain, bronchitis, pneumonia and tuberculosis. Dandelion root infusions can help nourish, soothe and heal the mucous membranes in the lungs for people already having treatment for these conditions. You know, I just want to emphasize those are very serious conditions that I wouldn't treat with dandelion, but it's more kind of like in the recovery stage, which I probably should have edited into the book. Okay, high blood pressure and elevated cholesterol levels. Dandelion root infusions can help to reduce these conditions. If you can access oil, I know on the HMP canteen list in some prisons, people are able to buy sunflower or olive oil. If you do have access to oil, it's possible to infuse dandelion flowers in the oil for 2 weeks, or as long as you can before your cell gets searched. To do this, make sure you have a very clean jar, fill as much as possible with the flowers. If the flowers have been dried out slightly, this is even better, as it is super easy for oils to spoil because of too much water. Leave the flowers in there and then strain after a week or 2. You'll have a powerful infused oil that can be rubbed on your muscles for backache and shoulder tension, or any other aching muscles you have. Thanks so much for listening to the Frontline Herbalism podcast. You can find the transcript, the links, all the resources from the show at solidarityapothecary.org/podcast.